What if the phone in your pocket could turn into a tablet instantly? Not in some distant sci-fi future, not in 10 years, right now. In fact, some of the biggest tech companies on Earth are betting that foldable phones could replace the smartphones Americans have used for the past 15 years. But here's the real question. Are foldable phones actually the future of the US smartphone market? Or are they just another expensive experiment that most people will ignore? Because right now, something interesting is happening. Sales are slowly rising. Major brands are investing billions. Carriers are pushing them harder than ever. And a new generation of foldables is about to arrive that could completely change how Americans use their phones. So in this video, we're going to explore the real future of foldable phones in the United States, why companies are betting big on them, why some people absolutely love them, why others say they will never buy one, and what might happen by the year 2030 if foldables actually become mainstream. Because if this technology succeeds, it could completely reshape the smartphone industry in America. And if it fails, it could become one of the most expensive tech experiments of the decade. Let's break it all down. Right now, foldable phones are having a strange moment in the US market. They are everywhere in tech news. Every major smartphone launch seems to include a new foldable design. Yet when you walk into a coffee shop, a subway train, or an office building in America, you almost never see someone using one. Most Americans are still using traditional slab phones, the classic rectangle design that hasn't really changed since the first iPhone launched in 2007. But behind the scenes, something bigger is happening. Smartphone innovation has slowed down. For years, companies tried to excite people with slightly better cameras, slightly faster processors, and slightly brighter screens. But consumers started noticing something. Their phones already felt good enough, and when a device already does everything you need, upgrading becomes harder to justify. That's a serious problem for the smartphone industry in the United States, because companies rely on people upgrading every 2 to 3 years. When upgrade cycles slow down, billions of dollars are at stake, so manufacturers needed something new, something that actually felt different. That's where foldable phones come in. Instead of improving the same design over and over again, foldables introduce a completely different experience. A phone that opens like a book, or flips like an old-school flip phone. Suddenly, the smartphone feels new again. And that is exactly why companies are pushing this technology so aggressively right now. To understand why foldables matter, we first need to understand what they actually are. At its core, a foldable phone is exactly what the name suggests. A smartphone with a flexible screen that can physically bend or fold. Instead of a rigid glass display, these devices use ultra-thin, flexible OLED panels. When folded, the phone works like a normal smartphone, but when you open it, the screen becomes dramatically larger. Some models unfold into something that feels closer to a small tablet. Others flip open vertically, giving you a compact device that easily fits into a pocket. The idea sounds simple, but the technology behind it is incredibly complex. These devices rely on precision hinges, flexible displays, advanced polymers, and carefully engineered durability systems. Early versions struggled with problems. Screens scratched easily, hinges collected dust, creases were visible, and durability concerns made many American consumers hesitant. But every year, the technology improves. Screens are stronger, hinges are smoother, software is better optimized for folding displays. And manufacturers are slowly solving the problems that once made foldables feel fragile. This progress is why foldable phones are gaining momentum now. But here's where it gets interesting. Foldables are not just a hardware experiment. They represent a completely different philosophy of smartphone design. And this is where the story becomes much bigger than just screens that bend. Because the real impact of foldable phones could reshape how Americans use mobile technology every single day. Think about how people use smartphones today in the United States. Streaming movies, scrolling social media, working remotely, reading news, gaming, video calls, and increasingly, many of these activities benefit from larger screens. That's why tablets still exist. But tablets create a problem. They are bigger, less portable, and often redundant. Most people carry a phone everywhere, but leave their tablet at home. Foldable phones attempt to solve this problem by combining both devices into one. A phone when you need portability, a tablet when you want more space. For productivity, this can be a major advantage. Imagine answering emails on a larger screen during a commute, reviewing documents without needing a laptop, watching Netflix without squinting at a small display, running two apps side by side while traveling. This flexibility is one of the biggest selling points of foldables. But here's where it gets serious. The companies pushing this technology are not small startups. They are some of the most powerful corporations in the global tech industry. Samsung has spent years developing foldable phones and currently dominates the category. Motorola revived the iconic Razr brand with a foldable design that blends nostalgia with modern technology. Google entered the foldable race with its own Pixel foldable device, integrating advanced software features. And rumors constantly suggest that Apple is experimenting with foldable technology behind the scenes. If Apple eventually launches a foldable iPhone, the entire market could change overnight. Because in the United States, Apple controls a huge portion of the smartphone market. Many American consumers simply follow Apple's direction. When Apple introduces a new category, adoption can accelerate dramatically. But here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Price. Foldable phones are expensive, really expensive. Many models cost between $1,500 and $2,000. That is significantly higher than most standard smartphones. For the average American consumer, that price creates hesitation, even with carrier trade-in deals and financing plans. So the big question becomes, will foldables eventually become affordable enough for the mainstream market? Or will they remain a niche luxury device? This is the part nobody talks about enough. Because price isn't the only challenge. Durability still matters. Even though foldables are stronger than early models, many Americans still worry about long-term reliability. What happens after 2 years of daily folding? What about dust entering the hinge? What about screen creases becoming more visible over time? These concerns are real, and they influence whether people feel comfortable spending thousands of dollars on a foldable phone. But despite these concerns, something interesting is happening. Carriers in the United States are pushing foldables harder than ever. Why? Because premium devices generate higher revenue. When customers upgrade to more expensive phones, carriers earn more through financing plans and service packages. Retail stores are also giving foldables more display space. The devices are positioned as futuristic, innovative, and premium. Marketing campaigns emphasize multitasking, productivity, and entertainment experiences that standard phones cannot replicate. And slowly, American consumers are starting to pay attention. Now let's talk about the advantages, because when foldables work well, they offer some genuinely impressive benefits. The most obvious advantage is screen size. You get a much larger display without carrying a separate device. For streaming, reading, gaming, and multitasking, this can be a huge upgrade. Foldables also offer new ways to use apps. You can run multiple applications at once, drag and drop content between windows, use one side of the screen for video calls while taking notes on the other. For professionals who work remotely or travel frequently, this flexibility can be extremely valuable. There's also the cool factor. Let's be honest. Foldable phones look futuristic. Opening a device into a larger screen still turns heads. In a world where smartphones often look identical, foldables feel fresh and different. But of course, there are downsides. The biggest issue remains cost. Many Americans simply cannot justify paying double the price of a regular smartphone. Another concern is battery life. Larger screens require more power. Foldables must balance battery capacity with thin designs, and sometimes that leads to shorter battery life compared to traditional phones. There is also the question of software optimization. Not every app is designed for folding displays. Some apps stretch awkwardly across larger screens. Others fail to use the extra space effectively. Developers are improving this situation, but the ecosystem still needs time to mature. Public opinion in the United States is also divided. Some tech enthusiasts see foldables as the next big evolution of smartphones. Others believe they solve a problem that doesn't really exist. Many consumers simply say their current phone already does everything they need. So why pay more? That debate continues across tech communities, social media discussions, and everyday conversations. But here's where the story gets really interesting. The future of foldables might not depend solely on phones. It could also depend on other devices. Imagine laptops with folding screens, tablets that fold into pocket-sized devices, wearable displays that expand when needed. Flexible display technology could transform multiple categories of consumer electronics. And foldable phones may just be the first step. Looking ahead toward 2030, several possibilities emerge for the US market. One scenario is that foldables gradually become cheaper as manufacturing improves. Prices drop, durability improves, software becomes fully optimized. In that world, foldables could become a mainstream option alongside traditional smartphones. Another possibility is that they remain a premium niche, loved by enthusiasts and professionals, but never dominating the market. And there is also a third possibility. A completely new form factor could appear, something beyond foldables. Perhaps rollable screens that expand without a hinge, or modular devices that change shape depending on what you need. The smartphone industry is constantly experimenting, and the next breakthrough could arrive faster than we expect. So, what does all of this mean for people in the United States right now? If you're a student interested in technology, this space is worth watching closely. Flexible displays, advanced materials, and mobile software optimization are becoming major areas of innovation. These fields could shape future careers in engineering, design, and product development. If you're a working professional, foldables might eventually become powerful productivity tools, especially if you travel frequently or work remotely. A device that combines phone and tablet functionality could simplify your tech setup. For business owners, foldables open interesting possibilities for mobile workflows. Sales presentations, design previews, and multitasking applications could benefit from larger portable screens. And for everyday consumers, the best advice is simple. Don't rush to upgrade just because the technology looks futuristic. Watch how the next few generations evolve. Pay attention to price drops. Look at durability improvements, and consider whether the larger screen would actually change how you use your phone every day. Because the future of foldable phones in America is still being written, they might become the next major evolution of smartphones, or they might remain a fascinating but limited experiment. Either way, the next 5 years will be incredibly important. Companies are investing billions. Engineers are pushing the limits of materials and design, and consumers are slowly deciding whether this new form of smartphone is worth embracing. So here's the big question for you. Would you actually buy a foldable phone, or do you think traditional smartphones are already good enough? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep tech explorations like this, make sure to subscribe to Tech Vibes, because the future of technology is unfolding faster than ever. And trust me, we're only getting started.